Hello everybody, how are you this morning? Welcome to my Cambridge IELTS and TOEFL certification classes. My name is Rodrigo and I'm officially a Cambridge examiner for the speaking part of the test. So welcome to my channel. This morning I prepared something super special for you, which is one specific part of Cambridge tests called word formation. But just before we start our classes, please make sure you subscribe to my channel by clicking the button below. So this way you can follow all my vocabulary and grammar tips next time. Alright? Shall we start? So, let me just remind you of the differences between Cambridge and TOEFL and IELTS. I think that's paramount before we even start this class, okay? So, Cambridge is a permanent certification. In other words, if you pass, you're gonna get a certificate for the rest of your life. As for TOEFL and IELTS, they're only good for 2 years because instead of being permanent, they're only placement tests. In other words, they test your level of English at the moment of the test and then it's only good for 2 years. They're not complete like Cambridge though, like Cambridge certifications demand a lot of your listening, grammar and writing skills. That's why Cambridge is permanent, okay? The levels we are going to deal with this morning are B2, C1 and C2 of the Common European Framework Database. So we're dealing from upper intermediate students to proficient students, okay? We're going to talk about word formation. So word formation used to be part of the use of English paper, but nowadays the use of English paper is joined with the reading part of the test, and it has become just one part because the intention was to make the test shorter, okay? Before I used to spend like 4.5 hours inside the classroom to take the test, it was very tiresome. But now, with 3.5 hours, we can make sure that you take the whole test and you're not so tired, okay? So, in order to form a word that is a stem word or root word, and this word, into this word we can add a prefix, a suffix, sometimes both, okay? And we can form a brand new word. It's part number 3 of the reading and use of English paper. Word formation consists of a short text with 8 gaps, with an additional gap as an example at the beginning. So all candidates have to complete each gap with the correct form of the stem word, which appears in capitals at the end of the line. So basically, you're going to see a word in capitals, and you need to convert that word. That word has to make sense, so you need to be aware of the lexical part of the word, okay? So when you look at the text and you read it, you have to think to yourself, what kind of word am I looking for? Am I looking for a verb here? Am I looking for a noun here? Am I looking for a negative word? So you have to think before everything before you decide how to convert your stem word, okay? So this part number 3 tests your knowledge of how words are formed in English, including the use of prefixes and suffixes and even spelling rules associated with these changes, okay? So, what can be formed? Usually, if I give you a verb, it can be converted into a noun. If I give you a noun, it can be converted into a verb, into adjectives, into adverbs. And sometimes we can have compound nouns, which basically is a word formed by 2 nouns, like teapot, okay? Sometimes we can convert affirmatives into negatives and all the way around, negatives into affirmatives. Sometimes we can only add a prefix, sometimes we only add a suffix, and sometimes we add both, okay? Prefixes and suffixes. So we need to make that decision as we read the text, because you need to know in your mind what kind of word you're looking for. So don't only use your instincts, you need some technique, okay? Use technique in order to solve this exercise. Some examples. Let's imagine our stem word is the word act. Act could be both a verb and a noun. For example, to act and enact in a theater, alright? I can convert act into action, into a noun. In this case, I added a suffix. Act can be converted into active. Again, suffix. Act, reaction. In this case, I'm adding both suffix and prefix. Act, activity, suffix. Act, reactive. In this case, I'm using both. Act, actively, both. Act, activate. So in this case, I'm using just the suffix. Act, deactivate. I'm using the negative. Okay? Act, proactive, and act, reactionary. So you see, it gets harder and harder, and it depends on the level of the test. If you're taking B2 level certification, it's going to be easier. However, if you are taking C2, the maximum proficiency, you can be sure it's going to be extremely difficult. It's going to be arduous and even punishing. Alright? So, let's move. Compound nouns. As I've mentioned before, compound nouns are two nouns together to form a brand new word. And there are 3 rules to form them. You can even have one word only. You can have a hyphen between 2 nouns. Or you can have 2 completely separate nouns, but they work together as one word. So let's see some examples. Teapot, headache, self-control, washing machine, driving license, DVD burner, boyfriend, breakfast, skinhead, software, aftershave, bookcase, wallpaper, post office, eyeshadow, window cleaner, lamppost, and air conditioning. You see, we've got all types of compound nouns. 2 nouns forming one word only, as in teapot. 2 nouns separated by hyphen, like self-control. And 2 separated words, as in washing machine. Okay? Now, exercise. What kind of words are we looking for? So there is a text, and this text I've picked from a great website that I highly recommend you guys to study. It's called englishreview.co.uk. That's the best website I've found on the internet, okay? And they put a lot of exercise for free there. So you don't have to pay a penny to do a lot of exercise. So it's an amazing website, okay? It's called First Flights, okay? So here you can see the words virtue, worth, count, accept, history, refer, able, and satisfy. Basically, what you have to do, you have to read the text and you have to convert that word into the gap in the same line. So number 1 refers to virtue. Number 2 refers to worth. Number 3 refers to count. Number 4 refers to accept. Number 5, history. Number 6, refer. Number 7, able. And number 8, satisfy. Okay? So they're not mixed up, they are in the same line. So that makes your life much easier. Okay? So I'm not going to read the whole text with you right now, but I'm just going to give you some examples, okay? So here we read, inspired by birds and religion, comma, blah 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 blah, every epoch, comma, blah 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 blah, every epoch. So what kind of word can come before every? So what kind of word? Is it a noun? Is it an adjective? Is it an adverb? So if you study English grammar deeply, you know that before every usually comes adverb. So virtue has to be converted into an adverb. Okay? What kind of words can we use between Egyptians, which is a noun, and winged? Winged is an adjective. So what can come between these 2 words? And I have the word worth. Okay? So obviously I needed a whole new class to teach you all the possible combinations. What can come between a noun and adjective? What can come between adjectives and prepositions? So that's a whole new class which I have already recorded in my channel. So again, if you click on the button below, you're going to watch all my grammar classes, okay? So this is just an example, so you know what you're doing. So what kind of word can be between the article the and the verb to be are? So except becomes a whole new word, okay? So let's see some tips. In the first word, the question is, which suffix is required to make this word that fits the context in the gap? So we go back, get back to virtue, and we know we have to add a suffix, okay? Then number two, think carefully about the part of speech you need here. You may need both a prefix and a suffix. So that tip's telling us that instead of using the word worth, you might have to add a prefix before the word and a suffix after the word, okay? Tip number three, what word could you use here to mean to tell somebody about something, especially something that you have experienced? So again, you go back to number three, count, and you see that count is between Greeks, a noun, and the legend, which is another noun, okay? And so on. So we're not going to do all of them today, but again, if you subscribe to my channel, you're going to learn all those grammar rules in separate classes in my English channel, okay? And answers are virtually. So virtue became virtually. So the suffix used here was li, which is a common suffix for adverbs and adjectives. And that means like a particular thing in manner, appearance, or nature, such as motherly, fatherly, and etc. Okay? Worth became worshipped. We added a suffix plus ed, and that means to show respect for God or a God, especially by saying prayers, singing, etc. For example, there are people worshipping Buddha, there are people worshipping African gods, there are people worshipping Egyptian gods, okay? Number three, count became recounted, so we added both prefix and suffix. So in adverbs, nouns, verbs, and adjectives, we can add the prefix re. And that means again and again in a better way, back to a former state, like to redo something, to reunite people, to recount the money because you're not sure if what you counted before was correct, okay? Except has become exceptions in the plural form, and that's a very tricky one. Sometimes we know the right word, but we're not sure if that should be plural or singular. In this case, you need to read the text very carefully and see why they need the plural form instead of the singular form. So the suffix for a noun is ion, okay? And that means the action or state of confession, competition, and some many other nouns ending with ion, okay? Passion, etc. Number five, historical. We had history and it became historical. This one was another tricky one because there is a big difference between historic and historical, and they're both adjectives, but one of them is connected to the whole history. How important was that in history? And the other one, not. Okay? So we use that in adjectives connected with. As an example, comical, chemical. There are hundreds of thousands of adjectives ending in equal. Okay? Then refer has been converted to references. Again, the plural form of the noun. You have to read the text, go back to the text and see why are we using the plural form. Okay? And that means the action or state of something, such as an existence, confidence, okay? Able has become enable. In this case, I use the prefix in. We use that in verbs. That means to put into the thing or condition mentioned, to cause to be, like in case, in large, and etc. Okay. And the last one, satisfact, became unsatisfactory. So we added the prefix un, and then we added the suffix ore. The prefix un, we add nouns, adjectives, and adverbs, and that means the opposite of something. Okay, the negative, such as untrue. And the suffix ore, we add only in adjectives, and that means involving the action concerned, like explanatory. Okay. Again, going back to the text, I'm going to leave these slides for you to have a look quickly, after the class. So if you want to get these slides, I can give you the slides. That's not a problem at all. So you can practice at home. But the aim of this class is to show you how this exercise works, what are the rules involved, okay? So again, I really, really hope you like this class because it takes a long time and effort to prepare everything, okay? Let me just have a look here. And the accreditation is basically the websites I take information from. So my favorite one is dictionary.cambridge.org because I do believe that's the best dictionary in the world. It's very personal to me, but I love the Cambridge Dictionary because they teach you both British and American pronunciation. So as you type a word, you can listen to the pronunciation. You can pick before you listen to it, you can pick the British and American. English Revealed, they work with a lot of exercises for the use of English part of the test. Zorus.com, another dictionary which I love, and Flojo, another website to learn grammar. So again, thank you so much guys for being with me all this time, and I hope you subscribe and get all my tips for both vocabulary and grammar tips next time. So, I'm going to record the next class, another topic, still referring to the use of English part of Cambridge test. So if you want to learn everything about Cambridge, please watch my classes, okay? Thank you so much and have a great Easter. Bye bye, see you guys, bye.